I have been playing Mario vs. Donkey Kong on the Nintendo Switch, and it's a game that actually stretches back 30 years. So let's go back in the Wayback Machine to the original Donkey Kong 94 game for the original Game Boy, which is my favorite Game Boy game. Let's just get that out of the way. It's my favorite Game Boy game. It's an amazing experience because it throws back to the roots of Nintendo in the arcades with the original Donkey Kong, and then it goes on and on with wonderful level design. And the whole idea with Donkey Kong 94 is that you get all of these different puzzles and platform challenges in different locations, and you've got objectives to get and all that stuff. It's super fun. And in 2004, Nintendo said, well, let's carry on with that idea and make Mario vs. Donkey Kong a Game Boy Advance game, which I loved. I thought that game was fantastic. It brought in a lot of the strengths of the Donkey Kong 94 experience with some interesting new twists. And this game, which is 20 years from the 2004 release, is basically a remake of, it's a remake of the Game Boy Advance game. It gets kind of confusing determining and slicing that up. Is it a remake? Is it a remaster? It's a remake because it's all in 16:9 and there's beautiful polygonal visuals for all of these different characters. Still Charles Martinet voicing Mario in this one, so I guess a lot of the original sound elements carried over to this new game, but there's new music, which is really jazzy, and there's some funky bits. There are also new levels, so there's an additional kind of value add there. I also enjoyed the two-player option and playing some of these levels with my daughter, but the whole idea with Mario vs. Donkey Kong, which makes it very different from something like, say, Super Mario Brothers Wonder, is that each of the different areas that you go to is split up into very distinct specified levels, and most of the levels take place on pretty much what you can see on screen, although sometimes they will tilt up a little bit or they'll tilt over a little bit. And you've got to complete objectives like grab a hammer and bash some fire barrels or something like that, or some enemies that are coming at you, and collect little presents. And then you'll find a key and unlock a door, and then you'll go into a next kind of sub-level where you'll find more presents, and then you'll also find a mini Mario, because the whole story for this game is Donkey Kong has stolen all of these mini Marios, and he's dropped them across the locations that you travel to in this game. And so you rinse and repeat on the kind of structure of the game, but of course every puzzle platform level that you travel to has its own distinct challenges and its own background environmental art as well. So you'll go to Donkey Kong Land, you'll go to a lava-infused land, and lots of, tropes and familiar kinds of locations that you would see across the Mario universe, which is cool. And I love this idea of being challenged with a very intelligently crafted level to defeat. And sometimes it feels impossible, like you'll jump onto switches and little flowers will activate and gusts of wind will blow Mario across the screen, and you're trying to figure out how to do all of this. And the challenges are actually tweaked a little bit when you've got two players on screen, which I appreciated as well. But sometimes it does feel a little opaque, like, oh my God, how am I going to figure it out? But that is the challenge of the gameplay. And I'll tell you something, it feels fantastic for me to revisit that. But I also did feel, especially in the face of the incredible Super Mario Brothers Wonder, that this feels a little disconnected, a little discombobulated. There's a real breakup in the flow as you go from level to level. Yes, you go back to a screen and then you select the next thing, and when you're in the world, it feels pretty good, but it doesn't have that sort of groovy flow that we've had, not only from Wonder, but more modern Mario experiences, where they just go from one section to another with this much more organic and beautifully designed vibe. And it's just a lot more enveloping. And this one, it feels a little more disjointed, and it's like, okay, I'm going to beat this level, and I'm going to go back out here. I'm going to beat this level, and I'm going to take a break. But I didn't mind that because, of course, my roots in playing and reviewing video games dates back to some of these classic things. But my daughter, who's 12 now, was playing it, and she felt like it felt a little too like old school for her. I got the sense that she was just disconnected from it. Didn't feel like a lot of modern type of experiences, and I totally get that. So I feel like this is for the Mario fanatics out there and for the retro fans out there, which I am both, and of course for the people that love the original Mario vs. Donkey Kong games. And there was a Game Boy game, and then they went to the DS and the 3DS. So there's been a whole bunch of cool experiences like this that all trace back to Donkey Kong 94 on the original Game Boy. And frankly, that's the main sort of critique that I would have here, is that it's great that we've got Mario versus Donkey Kong, and I hope that this remake or reboot, or however we frame it, remaster, it's a re-something. I hope that it gets enough interest and enough people picking it up that it sort of sparks Nintendo to bring us something new, to maybe bring us a whole collection of all of these games would have been rad, or to start again from the beginning and remake Donkey Kong 94, and then also bring us a new Donkey Kong game, because we've been waiting long enough, Nintendo. It'd be great to get a new Donkey Kong experience. But I'm really happy to be able to jump back in this world. The one major thing, too, that I will say is that this is an excellent portable game. It really, because it stems from portability. It stems from that pick up and play and you know, beat a level and then put it in your pocket kind of vibe, or in my case, an Indiana Jones satchel, and, you know, pick it up again and play it again and beat another level. I like that style of gameplay. And if you do, too, I think you're going to dig this. And another thing in the plus column is that this isn't a full-priced Nintendo Switch experience. It's a little less expensive than, say, something like Super Mario Brothers Wonder, which I totally recommend you pick up before you get this. But still, Mario vs. Donkey Kong, pretty darn cool. I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10.